The Nissan GT-R is a very fast car. Surely it's fast enough, right? Not for everyone. And these are the guys that build them faster. Nismo. Nismo can trace its gestation to Nissan's old motorsport divisions, and more specifically, when they merged those divisions together. They took their factory team, Opama Works, and their privateer division, Omori Works, into one unit called that, or in English for the abbreviation, Nismo. And they had pretty humble beginnings. They made a one-make racing series in Japan called the Saurus Junior Cup Series, 1989. But that was just a warm-up. These are baby steps, right? So they went from the baby steps of crawling to doing a marathon and decided to enter Group A touring car racing with the Skyline. That is quite a jump. Now, to go racing in FIA touring cars, you need homologation version, specifically 823 in the Nissan GTS-R's case. Yes, the R31 Skyline got an RB20 DET engine with a bigger turbo, bigger intercooler, and new exhaust manifold, making 210 horsepower on the road, and now it's shot up to 430 on the track. Sure, it was 100 horsepower down on the legendary Sierra Chiazza, but in the Australian Touring Car Championship, it won 6 out of the 8 races that season, and the first of many titles for the Skyline R31 and the brand of Skyline as a whole. Around the same time as their first touring car project, they decided to take another not-so-baby step from touring cars to sports car race. I'm not talking about their future sports cars, I'm talking about Le Mans prototypes. They made the R88C, the R89C, the R90C, and the R391, which were all very successful race cars in the Japanese Sports Prototype Championship and the Rolex 24 at Daytona. They were actually one of the first Japanese teams to win the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Unfortunately, their true ultimate goal for sports car racing, 24 Hours of Le Mans, was very much out of their grasp. They were great at Daytona, but at Le Mans they did not have the pace. The only notable instant in their entire Le Mans career was when the R90CK, driven by Mark Blundell, had a turbo failure in the 1991 Le Mans qualifying session. Normally, that would mean the end of a qualifying session, but in this unique failure, the wastegate jammed wide open, which meant the traditionally restricted engine made over 1,100 horsepower and reached an all-time record of 227 miles an hour between the Le Mans chicanes. They had already put the chicanes in, and they had just blitzed the record. They were only, what, 23 miles an hour short of the outright Le Mans record before the chicanes were installed, and it is still the current layout speed record, and I don't think anything will ever exceed it because of aerodynamics. But really, their bread and butter is touring cars. In 1999, they won the British Touring Car Championship with the Primera. They developed homologation versions from the R32 and the R33 Skyline GTRs, which won over 100 races around the world, including the Bathurst 1000 and every single event in the Japanese Touring Car Championship between 1989 and 1993. They were also very prominent in Super GT 500 racing. Super GT 500 racing. And they continue that right now. The GTR R35 has competed in numerous GT championships for FIA, Black-N, VLN, and more. And if you're a driver for Nismo, they have this very unique, very cool program called the Nismo Global Driver Exchange Program. So if you race in V8 supercars and you want to go to Le Mans, and you're fast enough, well, you don't have to finish off the entire season and then hopefully get your seat next year. You can hop over to the Circuit SR say for the week, have a bit of racing, have a bit of fun, and then go back to your series. You're much more flexible in that exchange program. It's a brilliant system. The same cannot be said about their next car. You see, innovation and outside-the-box thinking is paramount to motorsport. It gives you such legendary vehicles like the Lotus 79, the Chaparral 2E, the Lancia Stratos, all of these very much out-of-the-box, crazy ideas. But not every crazy out-of-the-box idea works like that, and the Nissan GT-R LM Nismo is such an example. They read the LMP1 rulebook and saw that the rules about the front of the car were much more lax than the rear. So, they decided to make an LMP car that focused almost exclusively on the front. This allows them to make a smaller rear wing and reduce drag. To create the desired shape they wanted, they actually made a front-engined LMP car with a Cosworth 3-liter V6 with a hybrid drivetrain for the back wheel, so it was technically front-wheel drive. However, while it was supposed to make 1,000 horsepower from the hybrid rear wheels and the V6 front wheels, the off-the-shelf ERS systems didn't work. So when they entered the 2015 24 Hours of Le Mans, it was not all-wheel drive with 1,000 horsepower, it was front-wheel drive with about 700 horsepower. Needless to say, it was actually slower than the LMP2 cars, and out of the 3 Nismos entered, only one of them finished, and it wasn't even counted because it failed to finish 70% of the winner's distance. Being 20% off the pace lap after lap for every lap after just one race, Nismo axed the project. Would it have been better the next year with a new hybrid system and some tweaks? Absolutely. Would they have been able to make up 20 seconds? I don't know. It didn't really work. But it did lead to one of the most unique and outside-the-box LMP cars of all time. Might be the most out-of-the-box LMP car. And you know what? I respect that. It sucked, it didn't really work, and it was only raced once with no success. But as a concept, as an idea, I think it's brilliant. Luckily, to counter that abysmal failure, they have a very successful road business. Well, 2 of them specifically. The first one is aftermarket parts. They make tuning parts, such as body kits, pistons, suspension components, exhaust, etc., for various Nissan vehicles and their partners. For instance, when people complained about the Infinity's Q60's lackluster exhaust note, 6 months later, Nismo released an aftermarket exhaust for the Infiniti Q60. And it's not just individual parts you can buy. You can buy entire kits, such as the 380RS, which is a fully fledged body kit, engine kit, suspension kit, whole shebang for the Nissan 350Z that boosts power to 380 horsepower. But if you don't want to build the car yourself, you can buy them from Nismo, because ever since the GTS-R in the late 80s, they have been building production cars as well. The R33 was one of the big ones. The R33 probably being the most notable for having the incredibly rare and very speedy 400R, which made 400 horsepower, if you would believe it, to all 4 wheels, and could hit 60 in 4 seconds flat, along with the usual upgrades such as a redesigned clutch, brakes, exhaust, and suspension. Continuing the whole Force theme, 400 horsepower, 4-wheel drive, 4 seconds 0 to 60, they only made 44 of them. So good luck finding one. But their best was yet to come, because the R34 exists. And Nismo was approaching their 20th anniversary in 2005, and they wanted to celebrate with the Ultimate Nismo based off of the Ultimate Nissan. There was a problem. The Ultimate Nissan wasn't in production anymore. The GT-R ended in 2002. Normally that would be the end for a project of this type, but Nismo didn't give up. Remember, these are the guys that made a front-wheel drive LMP car. So, they thought outside the box, and bought back 19 sub-30,000 mile Skyline GTRs from customers and got to work. Using their experience in GT2 and GT500 racing series, the RB26 DE-TT engine got a strengthened engine block and a stroked crankshaft, and it was also bored out from 2.6 liters to 2.8, making 500 horsepower and 400 torque, and even that came with a little asterisk for warranty purposes. And that wasn't the only thing getting the GT500 treatment. It was given a new hood vents, drag-reducing skirts, wider fenders for wider wheels. All in all, it had a top speed of 203 miles an hour. They were meticulously, artfully engineered and handcrafted in Japan. So it's small wonder they sell in excess of $500,000. They only came in Z-Tune Silver except for one, which was a Midnight Purple R34 that they upgraded to Z-Spec. And they left it Midnight Purple. I don't know how much money that is worth, but if the normal ones are worth $500,000 and you have a one of one, oh, that's pricey. But what are they doing now? What is their game plan now? Well, their fastest car is the Nissan GT-R Nismo R35. Basically, they've taken the decade-old R35 to heights never thought possible. Carbon fibers replaced the aluminum body panels and the aluminum air ducts. Brake cooling ducts have been added to the front and rear. Then there's a small detail of the turbocharger being ripped right out of a GT3 race car, which makes 600 horsepower and can out-accelerate the original Veyron, while still being able to do a 7-minute and 9-second lap in the Nürburgring. Now, the R35 was launched as a performance bargain at $200,000. The Nismo is not quite as much of a bargain as it once was, but it is still a lightning-quick car that, in Japan at least, has no real equals. It will humiliate an Acura NSX. In fact, it will humiliate most European sports cars as well. But if you want something a little more affordable, they have a massive range. They make Nismo versions of the 370Z, the Juke, the Sentra, the Patrol, the Note, the Polestar, the Micra, and even the Leaf have all gotten Nismo treatments. And you bet that they will get their hands all over that 400Z once it makes its official debut, and with their track record, that will be one hell of a thing.